Welcome to TED Talks Education. We are going to focus on the mechanism of enzymatic action. In other words, how do enzymes work? How do enzymes work? We can briefly say there are two hypotheses. There are two hypotheses put forward to explain the action of enzymes. The first one, we shall take the log and the key hypothesis. And the second one will be the induced fit hypothesis. So just going to compare these two for this, but we shall come back and expand what is in the log and key hypothesis itself, what is in the induced fit hypothesis. For the log and the key hypothesis, for this, the substrate has a specific shape complementary to the active site of the enzyme. It has that there is specificity in the log and hypothesis to the level that if this is the enzyme, then the substrate that binds to it has to have the configuration which can fit in, such that when they form the enzyme substrate complex, the enzyme plus the substrate can bond very well to form the enzyme which remains unchanged at the end of the reaction, and then the products, that means the substrate that has undergone a reaction. It is no longer a substrate because this is a chemical reaction. Now it has formed products. That is for the log and key hypothesis. We are going to expand further and see the details of it. Then we have the induced fit hypothesis. For this, the substrate does not have a configuration complementary to the enzyme, but rather can change the configuration of the active site can change the configuration of the active site for it to fit in while in proximity. That's the deep understanding of the induced fit hypothesis. Once the enzyme and the substrate come in close proximity, in close contact, then the enzyme can configure itself such that the substrate can fit in. That's why the word induced fit hypothesis comes in. Now I want to conclude. How do enzymes work? The mechanism of enzymatic reaction. So we can conclude and say, from these two, we can make a conclusion that enzymes form partial bonds with the substrate. To form an enzyme substrate complex which breaks down to form products and enzymes remain unchanged at the end of the reaction. We can take that conclusion. So if a question comes in this way, describe the mechanism of enzymatic action, we shall take the conclusion that enzymes form partial bonds with the substrate to form an enzyme substrate complex which will later break down to form products, but the enzyme remains unchanged at the end of the reaction. So in other subsequent sessions, we shall see people who formulated the locant hypothesis, who formulated the induced fit hypothesis, and then we compare them at large to come up with the deeper meaning of enzymes.